Good morning and welcome to the show. This is In Touch, and I am Beth Christy, your hostess. In Touch is our weekly half-hour public affairs show. At the end of the program today, I'll give you the myriad of ways of which you can contact me to be on the program to talk about what is important to you here in the Hudson Valley, in Orange County, in Sullivan County. If you can come into the studio, that'd be great. If we can just do it over the phone, that's fine too. Want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to voice what is important to them here in the Hudson Valley. So let me turn on the microphone, and I think other than this, you're really not going to hear from me during the show. Tom Lawrence is here. He is a library director of the Poughkeepsie Public Library District, and it is always great to have you here.
Thank you.
You don't need me, and I know that. But it's also a testament to all the work that you and your staff do, that there is so much going on in the Poughkeepsie Public Library District. There's always programs for different ages, interests, education levels. I mean, there is really, you talk about making the library an integral part of a community. You guys have done that.
We try.
Because at this point, you don't need me in the show anymore. And that's proof.
You're taking my time here.
Okay. So, all right. So I'm watching the time. So what's been going on and what's coming up?
Well, there's a lot coming up. And, before I get into some of the specifics happening here in Poughkeepsie, I just want to remind all your listeners that National Library Week is April 12th through the 18th. And if you haven't been to your local public library, or if you thought they weren't anything that you needed to have in your life, I'd ask you to rethink that. Because your local public library offers you a lot more than you might have remembered if you haven't been there in a while. And the New York Library Association had commissioned Siena in their college polling process to do a poll on what New Yorkers think of libraries. And it's just enormously popular. 94% of the respondents said that public libraries are very or somewhat important to our state's educational infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And, we provide all sorts of educational support as well as recreational and informational support. So your local public library, whether you're in Sullivan, Orange, or any of the other counties you mentioned at the beginning, needs a visit from you, and they need your support. Right. They need you to use them and to take advantage of them because that's what they're there for. So on to some of the specifics in Poughkeepsie. That was my public library infomercial.
I know. I like that. I wrote that down. We're going to be talking. Look, and listen, whatever station you're listening to this morning, be watching the website during the National Library Week because we're going to have some posts and some articles up on the sites about that.
Very good.
Okay.
Well, I am the director of the Poughkeepsie Public Library District, and actually on April 14th, it will mark my 20th year here.
Congratulations.
Yes.
That's a great thing.
It is. I mean, time's gone by, but I think we've done a lot. We are opening up our new branch library on Boardman Road, which the voters approved in 2012. Mm-hmm. It's a $6.5 million branch that replaces the old Arlington branch library. Mm-hmm. There's about 15,000 square feet of library space. Huge program room that can be divided into three, a separate program room for children's. It's just a big step up from where we were at Arlington. And the collection isn't going to grow significantly. We're going to refocus its importance on popular materials. We've learned over the years what circulates, what doesn't. And while Adrian's might need to have a slightly deeper collection, a branch library really doesn't. And we need to get things on the shelves that people want, the things they'll take out or use frequently for reference, but we don't need to have a mini Adrian's out at Boardman Road. So that's not what we're going to do.
Right.
But the grand opening celebration is on Sunday, April 12th, the aforementioned first day of National Library Week. And as we did for the grand opening of Adrian's back in October of 2009, Tom Chapin is going to come and do a family concert.
Which is so cool.
Yes, it is. It is cool. He's a big supporter of public libraries in general, and he's, of course, a legendary folk artist that we all know throughout the Hudson Valley. Mm-hmm. So he will be doing a concert for us at the branch starting around 2 o'clock. Then they'll have some brief ceremonial remarks, and then we'll open it up, give people a tour, and, have some celebration. Later that week, we have another, I think, premier event for this community. The author of the very popular book Orphan Train, Christina Baker Klein, will be speaking at the branch library, the new branch library, on Saturday, April 18th at 2 p.m. Now, all of this stuff is on our website, which is www.poklib.org. And she's going to talk about her book. And if you haven't read the book, you still have time if you can get a hold of a copy, because there's not many copies available in the system because everybody's out reading it. But it's a fabulous book, I think, from the perspective of an individual. Actually, there's two perspectives from the book. One is a young, troubled child, teenager. In the contemporary story takes place in Maine. And the historical part of the story is related through a narrative of an older woman who lives in Maine but had been on an orphan train, and what her experience was once she was collected by family. And, there's ups and downs, but it's a wonderful story about an era of this country's history that people really know very little about. And because of that, on Friday night before the author speaking, so Friday, April 17th at 7, we're going to be doing a screening of the PBS American Experience documentary on orphan trains. And it's going to, that documentary talks about the origins of the orphan train movement, what its purpose was, and will highlight some of its successes and its failures. And those of you familiar with the orphan train movement understand that its intent was to take children out of the seedier parts of any of the eastern cities and move them out to the west to families that both needed the labor and where they could, it's like a fresh air fund, if that most of us recall from our years growing up in the 60s and 70s. But it just always didn't go right. Some of the problems that we experience today with our society of predatory nature of people were rampant back in the late 1800s and early 1900s, and not every orphan who was on an orphan train had a successful experience. This book does not dwell on that. There's some inklings of some problems, but it's a good story that ends right, if you know what I mean. Not to give out any of the endings of the book, but right. It's not a long book, so it's easily read between now and the event on April 12th. And I would encourage you to take an opportunity to read it and come listen. Our big room at Boardman Road is capable of seating about 150 people, and we think we're going to test the limits of that
nice.
with this author appearance. So come and pack the house. Other things going on, and you all will, if you live in the Poughkeepsie area, you'll be getting your copy of the Rotunda in the mail within the next week if you haven't already gotten it. And some other new things that we're working on in the spring relate to, excuse me while I scan my notes. We have an interesting exhibit coming up. In May, we were approached by the Bridge Authority, the New York State Bridge Authority, to do an exhibit of all their bridges. So they're going to, in the Rotunda, the Waitekki Rotunda Gallery.
There we go.
We're going to be displaying images of all the bridges from the New York State Bridge Authority, and there will be an opening reception on Thursday evening, May 7th from 7 to 8. And Joe Ruggiero will be the guest speaker at the reception. He's the executive director of the Bridge Authority. Mm-hmm. And he has some interesting stories about the bridge and the bridges of the Hudson Valley. So I think that would be a fun event. And then the images will stay in the gallery for the whole month. So that's something new and different. Another thing that we're doing is we're introducing an art lecture series, an art history series.
Oh, cool.
That is looking at art and trends in the various decades throughout the 20th century. So, for example, on May 6th, we're talking about the Roaring Twenties to the Great Depression. And what these lectures will do, and they're hosted by Melinda Cosentino. She's taught art history at Mercy College and at Westchester Community College for over 20 years. But the goal of these lectures is to look at the styles, the news, and the music of each period, and to see how it fit the times. Mm-hmm. So it's sort of contextualizing what some of us either think we remember, or romantically want to remember. And I think that it can probably turn out to be a really neat interactive experience. And we go from the 20s and 30s to the 40s and 50s, the 60s and 70s, and then the 80s. So there's something for different generations to experience, and I think we've all experienced renaissance of various decades. Like if you ever watch HGTV, what we used to call retro is now mid-century modern, and that's because I think we're too old for it to be retro anymore. Which
is sad. And just,
yeah, I know. But I can remember when I was growing up, in the 70s, and we had homecoming, and there was always themes for homecoming. One of them was the 50s. And that was only 20 years before the 70s, but it was, ooh, we're going back in time.
Yes.
What Happy Days did to us in those years. But it's an interesting way of understanding how art was influenced by the times, and then how the art influenced us as we moved forward. So we're looking forward to that.
I like looking at everything because the art was made in that time.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was presented in that time. So you can't just, yes, while you can look at a piece of art on the wall, you miss so much of the narrative that is there if you don't see everything. So that's pretty cool that you guys are doing that. Very nice.
Right.
Very nice.
Moving on.
You guys have, first off, I have to tell you have no idea how many papers and lists and schedules.
Do a Rush Limbaugh thing here.
I'm telling you, this is what I said at the beginning of the program of how much you and your staff work to really make this library what it is.
Well, it's my staff. I'm just reading what they prepare. I mean, they're the ones who have the ideas and really put together these fabulous opportunities to learn, to experience.
Yeah.
Here's another example. We are going to have a series of workshops on how to grow a vegetable garden. A lot of people would like to grow a vegetable garden because there's certainly the desire to have your food get raised as close to your plate as possible. And, people are excited about container gardening and all of that, but they really just don't know how to start. So in a series that runs on April 7th, 14th, 21st, and 28th, we are hosting a program on vegetable gardens, and it's, of course, who do you go to for gardening but the Cornell Cooperative
I was going to say
Extension.
Cornell Cooperative Extension.
So they're going to be the people who are working with us, and the master gardeners will show us step-by-step how to make our gardens grow, which is an important thing for us to do.
Yeah, maybe they could explain why our tomatoes have not grown for the past 2 years and how there was blight on some of them, and then last year that didn't work. I don't know what.
Tomatoes have been challenged, I think, because of the very dry or wet. I mean, tomatoes are far more temperamental than we would like them to be.
I thought they would be the easiest thing to grow. No.
Well,
the green beans were beautiful.
Well, because I think green beans are less stressful.
But the tomatoes were not. I was really looking forward to them. Not so much.
Yeah,
I think I need to take. I think I need to go to that class. I think I need to.
We're working with the Mid-Hudson Valley World Affairs Council on presenting a new program called Great Decisions. And on a monthly basis, we'll talk about something that has a world impact. May 11th, we talk about Russia and the near abroad, which is the way they're talking about the near Middle East. It's a new term. Actually, it's not the near Middle East. I'm sorry. It's Europe west of Russia. So the focus is going to be on the Ukrainian problems that we have right now and what's really going on as Russia. The thing that is my history guy speaking now. When we worked very hard as a country to end the Soviet Empire, I don't think we gave enough thought of, okay, and then what? Right. And I think we're in that period of and then what, where through dictatorial and militaristic methods, the lid was kept on certain things around the world. And now the lid's off, and I think we're struggling to figure out how we control that. Right. And the World Affairs Council talks about a bunch of different things that have a global impact. So on May 11th, it's Russia and the near abroad, and on June 8th, it's privacy in the digital age, which of course is a absolute thing that we all need to be worried about. If every day there's some hacking thing that we all need to worry about. I think we should all just put our social security number on the internet, and then the hackers won't have anything to get at.
There'd be nothing to gain, and then do it. Yes.
Yeah, I don't think that would go very far.
No. But I get the thought process.
Well, I'm always baffled that, we willingly share so much information, and yet we probably don't realize that with some of our normal daily internet activity, we're sharing more than we really want.
Yeah, that's the scary thing that you don't realize. You look at some posts and what people can put together.
If you think about Google and what the algorithms that Google will use to display the stuff that's on the right side, which invariably is what you're interested in, because Google has tracked so much of what you're looking for. And the upside to it is, hey, they know what I'm looking for, so they can feed me what I'm looking for. The downside is, hey, they know what I'm looking for.
Right.
And there's the upside and the downside of it. But I think that as the World Affairs Council will do, they'll talk about what's the struggle, what's the impact worldwide in our digital era. We leave digital footprints everywhere we go, and it's not like the water on the sand that's not going to wash them away.
No, and the laws certainly have not caught up with as fast as technology is. So in terms of crimes, what do you do with it? How does it handled? What is a government's response? What's an individual's response? School districts, businesses. Right. It has not caught up.
No,
because it's moving so fast.
Right.
Yeah.
But we just got way too serious.
We did.
Okay,
So we're gonna completely change.
So let's talk about Pete the cat. Pete
Okay,
the cat is
Pete? Wait. I don't know Pete the cat.
Well, apparently younger. You probably know somebody who does know of Pete the cat, or will soon know of Pete the cat.
Okay.
In your life.
Okay.
Pete the cat's a very popular character with the younger set. So on Wednesday of National Library Week, which is April 15th, also known as Tax Day, finish your taxes and come to the library and celebrate with your kids with Pete the cat. Pete the cat's going to make an appearance. We'll have a story about Pete the cat, and we give a little goodie out that has a Pete the cat on it. Not the real Pete the cat, just a picture. And it's usually a fun time, very crowded. Get there early.
Okay.
Pete the cat appears at what time does Pete?
I was just going to ask that.
I don't have the youth insert with me today, so it's probably around 6:30, 6 o'clock or 6:30, but it'll be on the website.
Okay.
Which is www.pouklib.org. Learning to repeat that many times.
Yes, and which, by the way, we will have a link to in the article because we're going to post this show up on the websites, link it onto Facebook and Twitter and all of that, so that you can catch the show, and we'll have links in the article.
Good.
Yes. Okay.
On Saturday, May 9th, at Adrian's, we're going to be hosting a hearing health education workshop and screening, brought to us by our good friends at Zounds Hearing of Dutchess in Wappingers. The workshop is going to focus on how you can improve your hearing health, and screenings will be offered to determine the quality of your hearing health. So that's a 4-hour program that I think is going to be something worthwhile for people to go to if they think they're having some hearing difficulties. But people are welcome to come to that.
I'm going to tell my husband about that because he turns the TV up to the point where I think the windows are shaking.
Oh, maybe he just doesn't want to hear you.
Well, that could be. And that's a legitimate comment. There's always been a joke in our house that, because he can listen to me on the radio, he can turn it off anytime he wants, except when I'm in the same room.
He can just turn the other competing media louder.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he really doesn't need this, but I don't know. I'm thinking we'll check. I'll check. I won't. Well, I won't tell him that.
To be honest with you, yeah, right. To be honest with you, I suffer from some hearing loss, and what people do and I know I have some hearing losses because it's been documented. But what some people do is they will adjust their behaviors. They will adjust all sorts of things, deferring the expense or the embarrassment that they may perceive associated with a hearing aid or any kind of other device. And that's just no way to live.
Nope. Nope, I agree.
Yeah, you may want to tune out your spouse every once in a while, but going through medical hearing loss is not the way to do it. Mm-hmm. And I would encourage anybody who has a hearing issue to make sure that they get it checked. And here's an opportunity. I mean, they may not give you the full range of what your problem is if you have one, but it might be a way for you to start without, being terribly expensive or intrusive to determine if you might have a hearing problem. And, life is too short to not be able to hear if it can be helped.
And plus with all of the, I wear headphones how many hours a day?
Yeah.
With all of the earplugs and all the personal music devices, whatever it may be, there's been an awful lot of talk about watching the volume. You turn them up. You don't need them up that high. They're right there in your ear. And yet people still do that. I will come in here and plug my headphones in, and I have to grab the headphones off of my head so quickly because people have them up so loud because they can't hear them. So even for someone younger, it would be a very smart thing to do because you don't want to lose that.
No, you don't.
You don't want to lose that.
Really
let's
don't.
be smart. So that's cool. So that's what, May 9th?
That's May 9th. It's a Saturday at 10 o'clock at the Adrian's Library downtown. Musicals are very popular with many of our patrons. So throughout April, May, and June, we're offering a matinee musical mania.
Oh, cool.
You know, some of these are things that you might be able to see on TV if you're up late at night, but some of them absolutely not. So we're running The Merry Widow, Strike Up the Band,
Nice.
Summer Holiday, Royal Wedding, Kismet, Rosemarie, The Music Man, The Unsinkable Molly Brown, Camelot, Oliver, The Slipper and the Rose, and Yentl.
Oh, cool.
So they're, some of them are Broadway-style musicals that were made into a movie by Hollywood, and some of them are just pure Hollywood musicals, which are always a lot of fun. And that's Thursday afternoons, starting April 9th at 1:30 in the Charwat Room.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I like that.
It is fun. Some of these things you just don't see that often on TV, or you might not get it in your cable package. And
Like
here's an
you said,
opportunity to see it.
unless you're up at like 2:30 in the morning, which if you are, you're not. I'm not functioning the next day.
Well, or if you're channel scanning, you might catch part of it and then fall asleep.
Exactly. That's probably more likely to happen.
Yeah,
to
that's
me.
what happens to me.
Okay. Yeah.
We continue our community learning plaza for the Hispanic community that want to learn and function in English, which is certainly something that they should all be able to do. We received a generous grant from the Dollar General store in cooperation with the American Library Association to continue that project, as well as to purchase Rosetta Stone language learning online.
I did see that. Yes.
So that's an opportunity not only for people to learn English and again mastering English, which we work very hard with the Hispanic community to do. They're very desirous of being functional English speakers. But for many other people, Rosetta Stone is well known for travel. If you want to get a quick brush up or a quick conversational approach to somebody going into another country in their native language. So that's an online opportunity that you have. We also offer all of our computer classes in English and in Spanish. We don't do them bilingually. We either have a Spanish class or an all-English class, and we certainly have the majority of them are in English. But, there's a page in the rotunda of computer classes that are being taught. And as much as we think everybody has to know how to use certain things, they don't. Right. We all take for granted that we know how to use our smartphone, or we know how to use aspects of the internet or eBay or whatever, and people really don't. There's a lot of fumbling out there, and we are able to provide classes that can help clear that up. We have 2 technology instructors. Their sole responsibility is to teach classes, to develop curriculum, and to work with the public when they come in and act confused, which they do on a daily basis, which is great because that means people understand that the library is a great place to get this kind of instruction.
And even though now here, we're part of Town Square Media, which is truly a media company, and there's so much that we are doing digitally. I can say that word in English. But every day or every couple of days there's something that I go, oh, wait, that was an easier way to do that? So I've been doing this the long, hard,
because it's the way
the wheel every time.
Because you probably, and I experience this, my wife experiences this, you're punching every little thing you can, and then all of a sudden it works the way you wanted it to. So you resequence that in your mind.
Yes.
And then, oh, no, all you had to do was do Control P, and then, you're going to get whatever you needed to have done.
Yeah.
But we offer introductory classes on a variety of social media, including Pinterest, Twitter, blogging, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook.
Nice.
So these classes fill up fast, and we're working to try and get more staff to teach more classes.
Cool.
But we offer intros to iPad.
Oh, nice.
How to buy a computer and a tablet, how to work Ancestry.com, which is one of the more popular genealogy databases, how to work Google Drive, because people are using Google Drive more often in their life because their tablet or their phone may not support storing documents, so they're turning to Google. Digital photo management.
Oh, cool. That's fun.
And one thing I want to spend a couple of minutes on here, other than just rattling it off, is, the library district, along with other libraries in the Mid-Hudson Library System, offer access to ebooks through a product called Overdrive. And we continue to expand our offerings available in that. But the library district alone, not in cooperation with anybody else, because we have the funds to do it, we offer access to about 75 to 80 digital magazines. They're popular magazines that you download and you actually keep on your device. These are not anything that age out the way ebooks do. They just sort of vanish off your device after your loan period. But the pricing structure that we pay to this company, and the product is called Zinio, and it's available on the upper right-hand corner of our the homepage of our website. House Beautiful, Good Housekeeping,
cool.
Family Circle, Women's Day, The Economist, which is one of our more popular titles that people use. We've recently added Vanity Fair and a bunch of other Condé Nast titles. But there's about 80 different popular titles that people can download to their Kindle, download to their computer, download to their phone if you can read that small. And take it anywhere you want to go. And these stay on your device for as long as you want to have them. So it's a really neat service that we've had it for a year now, and there's been some good use of it. We need to get more use to justify the expense. But some of these things take a little bit longer to get going than others. I
was going to ask you about Kindle because I have the Kindle app on my iPad. Just got an iPad. I have the Kindle app. That's really cool. I'll be checking that out.
It's the iPad app should work. The Kindle app's a little more confusing.
Yeah. Okay.
But there are instructions on how to use the product.
Cool.
And it's important to follow the instructions.
I will.
Because it's one of those things where you're going to go through 15 minutes of gyrating and getting mad, and all you had to do was read the instructions, and you'd be fine in 5.
I'm going to read them. I promise.
And if you have any trouble, you're more than welcome to call the reference desk or present yourself and your device to the reference staff and go, help me, I need help.
Oh, that's nice.
And that, that's something that the public probably doesn't realize. But, when I went to library school back in, and that was really, I went to library school, I graduated in 1982, December of 82. Computers were just coming into the libraries. I certainly didn't have much coursework in it. I had a lot of coursework on how to create a catalog card on a 3x5 with a hole in it card.
Right.
Those aren't used anymore, so libraries have had to adapt and readapt, and we do a good job at it. I have a staff that really, I think, stays in front of what's going on, and they continually seek out those opportunities to educate themselves so they can better help the public. And my bottom line here is that the public has to understand that you don't need to come into the library anymore just to ask a reference question. The library and the reference desk can help you on how to use your technology, how do you use our resources through technology, how you can find things on Google. They're more than happy to help you on any of these technological tools that we have that make the ability to find information that you need faster, better, and more relevant to your life. And in recognition of that, we buy more online materials that are available 24/7. And our reference collection, the old-fashioned reference collection where a librarian would get up after you've asked the question and go to a book that didn't circulate, that collection is shrinking rapidly because people aren't using a lot of that material. There's some stuff that we have to have, directories that are peer-evaluated, and not everything you see on the internet is true.
Shocking.
Yeah, I know. And probably...
I can't believe you just said those words.
And sadly, you probably have to burrow into the 3rd or 4th page of your Google retrieval to find the stuff that is true. It is sad, but that's where we are. But my point is that our staff is quite versatile, and they're more than willing to help you find anything you need.
And that's a great thing because I remember doing research when I was in high school, and we would go once a week to Carnegie Mellon because I grew up in Pittsburgh, and so that's where we would go. And they had the amazing reference, but you had to fill out a slip and you had to put it in a box, and then you would be a bell would ring or something, and your books would be there. You could only use them, in that room,
right?
Which I get because some of these volumes that people were getting out, you're like, oh my goodness gracious! So that's amazing that we would have that information basically at our fingertips.
Yeah,
to be able to get the real info.
Right.
Not just something that's circulating on
Right.
social media, because that's a little scary. So, Tom, we got about a minute. So time, believe it or not, to wrap up. See,
Okay.
I really didn't need to say that much, but some closing comments.
Yeah. Well, obviously, thank you for letting me come on and take over the airwaves for a little while. Just to close with where I started is that regardless of where you live, investigate your public library. Find out what they've got. And if they don't have something that you feel that would benefit you and others in your community, ask about it. Some things are just not obvious. Some are. And I would say the same thing for people in Poughkeepsie, that if you think that we're not doing something that would benefit you, or we're doing something that you think might be able to be done a little differently, let us know, because the only way we're going to find out is through feedback.
Right.
And feedback that's constructive, that helps us help you, is far better than sitting home and just complaining. Right. People are able to get to me through the suggestions under About Us on our website. I typically respond to them within 24 hours. And if I'm unable to respond to them, I divert it to another staff member who's better capable of, I don't want to say divert, that's not a good word. I forward it to a staff
There you
member
go.
who can better answer the question. But I do want to hear from the public. The one last thing I want to say that has been presented to us is that with the opening of the Boardman Road Branch Library, there's been quite a bit of concern about public transportation to the site.
Oh.
And we are working with the city and the town to see what options and what opportunities there are to expand bus service to get it out to Boardman Road. We think there's some positive indications from both the city and the town that this could happen. But it's not going to happen until it does happen.
Right.
And there's only so much control the library district has over that. But I would encourage listeners in the city and town of Poughkeepsie to contact their elected representatives if they feel that is an important opportunity for the public. And it is. I think it is.
Very cool. Tom, thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
If you have any questions about anything that was talked about today, then please give me a call, 845-471-1500. My extension is 159. You can also email me, beth.christy@townsquaremedia.com. You can find me online, hudsonvalleycountry.com. You can also go to whatever website you're listening to stations this morning on. Go to their websites. We'll have all that information as well. If you want to be on the show, please email me, call me. I'm on Pinterest and Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and a gazillion other things, I believe. So take care of yourself and those you love, and we'll see you right here next week.